Hi, boys and girls. I'm Pastor Charles. Welcome to another weekly Bible story. I want you to close your eyes. Can you do that for me? Can you close your eyes? All right, no peeking. Now that your eyes are closed, you're not looking at me at all. Don't peek. Tell me how many fingers I'm holding up. I said don't peek. Don't peek. Now, open your eyes. Did you get it right? Hopefully you got it right without peeking. Can you see how hard it is to guess something like that when you can't see? Imagine how hard it is to do anything when you can't see. What do we call somebody who isn't able to see? We call people who aren't able to see blind. There's a lot of people in our world who they can't watch a video like you're doing right now. They can hear it, but they can't see it, or they can't read like you and I would. They have to have this special kind of paper and this special kind of lettering called Braille in order to read words. They have a hard time walking around places, and sometimes they need a stick or a helpful dog that helps them to know where they're walking or to make sure they don't run into things. It's tough to be a person who can't use their eyes. And our story today is about somebody who Jesus healed and gave them sight. But rather than have me tell it, I want to go now to our news correspondent, Tyler Bates, with more information. Tyler?
Thank you, Pastor Charles. I'm Tyler Bates, and I'm bringing you your Bible Time News Update. Bringing you breaking news from 2,000 years ago. Well, is it a miracle or a lifelong marketing scam? That's the question citizens of Jerusalem are asking today after a man who spent their entire life claiming to be blind was seen walking unaided through the city streets. Witnesses recognize the man as someone who has been begging for money outside the nearby temple building for years. When confronted on the issue, the man confirmed that he was indeed the man they thought he was. But it wasn't a scam. He actually was born blind, but had that day been miraculously healed by a stranger. The man was taken before the elders for further questioning. When asked for a statement by the elders, the man recounted the situation. We will read to you now the man's account of what happened. I was sitting outside the temple like I always do, asking for donations, when the man who was called Jesus walked by. He got down close to me, spat on the dirt, balled the spit and the dirt into mud, and then put it where my eyes are supposed to be. Then he told me to wash my face in the nearby pool. After I did so, I could see. We are being told by those close to the situation that the elders do not believe the man's story and are putting him through further questioning. They have called in the man's parents to testify against him and have repeatedly asked the man what he thinks of Jesus. Upon being asked, the man responded, "Who this man is, I do not know, but this I do know. Though I was blind, now I see." That's the story. Now, our news reporter, Eleanor, is at the scene. To you, Eleanor.
Thank you, Tyler. What a stunning story. The elders are still getting to the bottom of this. Could this be a miracle? We don't know yet. But we'll keep you posted, Tyler.
Yes, Eleanor, this certainly is a mystery. And you are right. We will keep a careful eye on the story in the verses to come. Back to you, Pastor Charles.
Thank you, Tyler and Eleanor, for sharing that story with us. You both did a great job. Just like they said, there was a man who was born blind. Imagine if this guy was born without eyes or an ability to see, and Jesus healed him by taking dirt, spitting in it, and putting it in his eyes. But again, there were some people who weren't too happy about this. And you say, why would anybody not be happy that a man who couldn't see was able to see? Well, people were kind of skeptical. How could this man possibly have been healed? And then in these people's case, they were really upset because somebody had broken a rule. Do you remember the group of people we talked about last week who were really excited about rules and wanted to make sure that everybody followed the rules and even made up new rules for people to keep? The Pharisees. That's who these people were. Last week, the Pharisees were upset when Jesus healed a man who wasn't able to walk because he had done so on the Sabbath day, a day that was supposed to be used only to honor God and to take some rest and worship God. So if you did any kind of work on the Sabbath day, these guys got upset because you were taking a rule that God had given, but then they had added more rules to it, and you were breaking the rules that they had added. Well, they were upset with Jesus because he had healed this guy on the Sabbath day. And so they started grilling the guy, just like you heard Tyler and Eleanor talk about, where this guy was being told, oh, you couldn't really see. And he said, yes, I really was blind. And they said, well, we'll bring your parents in here. Do they say that you are who you say you are? And his parents confirmed, but said that they didn't know how he was able to see, even though he was born blind. And they kept saying, we want you to admit it. Admit that Jesus is a sinful man. Admit that Jesus does things that are wrong. Admit that he's not a prophet. Admit that he's not the Son of God, not the Messiah. But this guy, he kept saying, no, I won't do that. No, I won't admit that he's a sinner. I don't think he's a sinner. Maybe he's the Messiah. Maybe he's exactly who he said he was. Because the thing that this guy kept saying, the one thing that he was sure of, was that even though he used to be blind, now he could see. His life had been changed by Jesus, and he wanted to make sure that everybody knew that. But you see, the truth was, this guy could see, even though he was born blind. And these guys were blind in their own way. This guy could see the truth about Jesus, but the Pharisees, they could not see the truth about Jesus. Why is that? Well, this guy was born without eyes, right? What's an eye look like? An eye looks kind of like this. That's a pretty good eye, I think. This man was born without eyes. He couldn't see physically. But when he met Jesus, he could see with his heart. He could see who Jesus really was. Not just some man, not even just a prophet, but something truly special. But the Pharisees, their hearts were blind. They couldn't see the truth about Jesus. They had blind hearts. Even though they had eyes and could see physically, they couldn't see the truth about Jesus with their hearts. So this man and the Pharisees, they ended up having a big, lengthy argument, and the Pharisees kicked him out of the temple, kicked him out of the synagogue, all because he wouldn't change his beliefs about Jesus. But this man refused to do so, because though I once was blind, now I see. My life has been changed by Jesus, and I'm not willing to just let go of that. That's significant. Boys and girls, I want to ask you a similar question. Are you blind? Now, I'm going to assume that everybody listening today can see just fine. Some of you might be physically blind and you can't see things, but I'm going to assume that all of you can physically see. That's not what I'm talking about. No, I'm talking about, is your heart blind? Like the Pharisees. Who do you think Jesus is? You've spent weeks, I think at this point months, hearing stories about Jesus and the things that he's done. Do you believe that Jesus is who he said he was? That he's the Messiah, the Son of God? Or are you blind to that? Do you just think that he's an ordinary person? That's a question you have to ask yourself, and it's a question that you should talk to your parents about too. But let me tell you what I think about Jesus. I think that I was born blind. I was born not knowing who God was and not knowing that I was a sinful person. But Jesus, he made my heart see. He made me see who he was, and he made me see who I was, that I was wicked and that I needed forgiveness that only he could give. And just like this guy, my life has been changed because of Jesus. I have a relationship with God, and that only comes from Jesus. I have a future in heaven because of Jesus. My life has been changed because of Jesus. My life has a purpose. I know what God wants me to do with my life. It's telling other people about him, and it's giving him glory and praising his name because my life has been changed by Jesus. I have been given the ability that I wouldn't otherwise have to be loving with people and merciful and patient and gracious and kind in other ways. Without Jesus, I would never be loving, kind, gracious, or patient. At least not to the degree that Jesus has given me the ability to be. Because Jesus has changed my life. And I never have to feel alone. Even in the worst days where I feel like, man, I'm just struggling and I just need somebody there beside me, I don't have to feel alone because Jesus is always there and Jesus has changed my life. I understand this man's point of view. He wouldn't turn his back on Jesus. He wouldn't admit that Jesus was a sinner or anything bad because his life had been changed by Jesus. Boys and girls, how has your life been changed by Jesus? Talk with your parents today about the things that Jesus has done for you in your life that mean that you will forever stay by him, that you will forever glorify him and worship him. Also, I want to thank Tyler and Eleanor again for helping us out with telling our Bible story today. If you would like to help tell our Bible story next week, I would absolutely love it if you did. Or maybe you don't want to tell it next week. Maybe you want to help out the week after that or the week after that. Maybe you would love to tell a Bible story your own way. Well, I wanted to let you guys know that you can help share Bible stories just like Tyler and Eleanor did. If you have an idea of a way that you would like to send in a video that we can include with our Bible story, please let me know. Send us an email at childrensministry@nebible.org. Perhaps you want to do a play with your siblings reenacting the Bible story. Maybe you want to draw the story out on paper or your own whiteboard and show it off that way. Maybe you want to act it out with your toys, or I don't know. You probably have even better ideas than that. So if you're interested in telling a Bible story in the next few weeks, give us an email and we'll get back to you with what stories we have coming up in the next few weeks and what ideas you might have to help us share them. Thanks a lot, and have a great week.